Hey everyone, this is Hayata. I am a newbie pinhole photographer, and I'm here sharing my experiences as I learn this creative form of photography. We are headed to the Statue of Liberty. Well, not exactly the Statue of Liberty, but to the park that's across the harbor from it, which has a really nice view of the Statue of Liberty. We are here at Liberty State Park today, and it has a really nice view of the Statue of Liberty out there. So she is going to be our test subject today. What I want to test is to see if the field of view for pinhole photography is the same as with regular lens. And we're going to do that by taking some pinhole shots with the extension tubes. Wait, what? What's this about extension tubes? Yeah, my pinhole setup uses a pinhole put into a lens cap, and then it uses extension tubes to set the focal length. It also uses a Sony to Nikon lens adapter to also add some more focal length. My test is to see if the field of view for pinhole photography is the same as with regular lens. And we're going to do that by taking some pinhole shots with the extension tubes. We'll start off with none and then add a couple more, taking shots along the way. And then we'll switch lenses and I'll use my regular lens and try to match the focal lengths, and then we'll see if the field of view is the same. So let's turn on the camera. It is already set up, basically without any extension tubes, just the Sony to Nikon converter. And we're going to take an image. Okay, just make sure I got a picture. Okay, it's looking good. Now let me add the 20 millimeter extension tube. Okay, so let's take the picture. Okay, so now let's add the really long one. It's another 36 millimeters. Okay, here we go. Okay, so those are the three shots with the extension tube set up. Now I'm going to switch to my regular lens. So now I got my regular lens on there, and I know that without any extension tubes, right, and just the converter, we're at 47 millimeters. So I'm going to try to find that on the regular lens here. Should be just under 50. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to check the metadata to see how close we got. Oh, so 46 millimeters. That's close enough. Okay. So now the first extension tube we added was another 20. So we're going to go to 67 millimeters. Oh yeah, 67, right on the dot. Although it's kind of funny, on the lens, it's actually right on 70. So kind of tells you how accurate it is. The second extension tube we added was another 36. That's going to get us to about 103 millimeters. So we're going to find that. Oh, 104. That should be close enough. Okay, so now it's time to go home and compare the images side by side and see if the field of view is the same. We are here back at home, ready to review our comparison photos. But before I get into that, let me explain why I'm doing this. What I want to find out is if the math between the focal length and the field of view is the same between a kind of regular lens and a pinhole lens. Right? Now, the two lenses are different in the way the light goes through these lenses. Right? And the reason why that's important is that has to do with crop factor. Right? So with the crop factor, if you have the same lens, but one sensor size, right, like a like a 35 millimeter piece of film, right? It's going to capture a certain amount of that scene, right? But if the uh, the sensor or the film is larger, right, it's going to capture more of that scene, right? And there's a math behind figuring out what they call the crop factor for that, right? And that's going to help because, right, I do want to shoot different size film, and uh, it helps to know that the math is the same, so therefore the crop factor is the same. So, for example, if I want to go from my full frame camera, right, to a medium format film, right, then I would need to know what kind of focal length I need, right, for that lens that I'm going to use with the medium format film, right? And I can do the math to figure that out, right, to basically have both cameras take the same field of view, right? Now, it may seem obvious to you, right, that, oh, of course it's the same, right? But I don't know that, and I like to find out for myself these things, right? So let's go on to the images here. Now, the first one is the 47 millimeters for the pinhole. And then this one here is going to be the equivalent one for the regular lens. You can see here it's 46 millimeters, which is pretty close. And then, you know, if we just eyeball it, right, they do look very much the same from a size perspective. But we can compare them, right, in this reference mode. Let me stick this over here. Right, and you know, horizontally they look the same. Right? Now you might notice here that the one on the right is a little bit lower than the one on the left, and I think that's because of the location of the pinhole. Right, so I didn't move the camera, so you would think it would be identical, right? But with pinhole photography, right, the location of the pinhole matters in terms of what image you're capturing, right? So if it's a little higher or a little lower than the exact center, you know, it's going to kind of move the image a little bit up and down. So I think that's what happened here. But we can, let's put it one on top of the other over here, right? All right, so now if we compare like the edges of the island, right, they look pretty much the same to me as well. Right? But it would be nice to be able to like put one on top of the other, which is something I don't think Lightroom can do. But I think we can do that in Photoshop. So let's pull this into Photoshop. So let's, edit in. If you open it as layers in Photoshop, that'll allow us to like put one image on top of the other. Okay, so now that's loaded there. You can see there's two layers, and if I turn off the top layer, you can see the bottom layer. And we can let the bottom layer peek through by changing the opacity of the top layer. Yeah. So you can kind of see it, right? The bottom layer kind of peeking through, and it looks the same, just a little bit shifted, right? But we can also, let's zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Right, so now we can kind of see that they are still very much the same. And we can also shift the images. Right? So if I make sure I'm in the selection mode here, and then click on the top image, I can actually move it. So, yeah, so there we go. Yeah, so it looks like it's spot on, right? So, yeah, you know, so that's telling me, right, that the focal length and the field of view, right, are the same as between the two lenses. You know, so that's not necessarily going to answer the crop factor question, right? We need to zoom in, right? And that's what we did in the field. So, yeah, so what I mean is, you know, zooming in is essentially cropping, right? So, all right, so let's look at the other images. Okay, so now if we go here, okay, so let's take a look at the full image here, like this. Okay. This is the the one with the 20mm extension tube added, right? So what is that? 4767. Right? And then this one here, yeah, we managed to match it right at 67, right? So now if we do our comparisons, right? So I believe I take this one and put this up here. There we go. Yep. Now, and again, right? They look very much the same to my eye. And let's do that Photoshop comparison trick. Okay, so both are loaded now. Let me change the opacity of the top layer. I believe it was like 61 or something like that on the other one. Yes, there we go. So, you know, it actually looks kind of pretty cool. Like a little double exposure, right? But, let's adjust for that. Let's first zoom in, and then we'll adjust for that. All right, so I'm going to grab this layer, kind of move it like right on top. And there we go. Yeah, it looks pretty much spot on to me. Yeah, so pretty cool. Yeah. And then we did take one more, which was much more zoomed in. Right? So let's see how that fared. So that's actually this image here, and then we take the reference to the top there, right? And no surprise, it's certainly going to match, but let's do this anyway. All right, and then change the opacity. It was like 70 or something like that. Yep. And let's zoom in. Yeah. Well, you know, I really like the double exposure look here. Might be something to try. But anyway, let's select the layer again and kind of shift this over. And I think it shifts up a little bit. Yeah, well, there we go. Yeah, that's like spot on. So, yeah, pretty cool. And very nice. So that's the comparison. And, you know, basically confirmed, I think, what all of us kind of knew intuitively. But, you know, like I said, you know, I like to find these things out for myself. You know, this stuff costs money to invest in, and I want to make sure that I'm knowing what I'm getting. Right? So I think this helps me do that. So before I leave you, I didn't go to Liberty State Park, you know, just to do this comparison. So, you know, I did get there early, and I took a nice sunrise photo, right? Then I also stuck around a little bit while after and took a couple other images. So let me show those to you now. Right? Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and follow and do all that usual stuff. Thanks.